October 15, 1917, a woman stands before a French firing squad at the Vincennes firing range outside Paris. 12 rifles rise, 12 shots ring out as one. Her name is Mata Hari, the most famous spy of the First World War. The French government claims she is responsible for the deaths of 50,000 soldiers. Newspapers across Europe declare her a traitor, a seductress, a German agent who sold military secrets for money. She was once the toast of Paris, an exotic dancer who performed for kings and generals, a woman who drew princes and high officials into her embrace. She moved through the highest circles of European society. The wealthy and the powerful sought her company. She lived a life of glamour and privilege that few could imagine. She maintained her innocence until the very end. Was Mata Hari a master spy who betrayed France, or an innocent woman sacrificed to save a nation's pride? March 1905. Paris. A woman takes the stage at the Guimet Museum before the Parisian elite. Her name is Mata Hari. She claims to be a Javanese princess trained in sacred temple dances. The exotic performer speaks of mysterious Eastern rituals and ancient traditions. The audience believes every word. In reality, this captivating figure is Margarethe Zell, a divorced Dutch housewife from a small town in the Netherlands. Overnight, Mata Hari becomes a sensation. Paris falls under the spell of this mysterious woman from the East. Over the next 7 years, performances take place across Europe's grandest theaters: Monte Carlo, Vienna, Berlin, Madrid. The stages of the continent welcome the famous dancer. Her appeal extends beyond the stage. Strikingly beautiful, she attracts wealthy and powerful men who fund her extravagant lifestyle. Bankers, aristocrats, military officers, and politicians compete for attention from the celebrated performer. But by 1912, her star is fading. She is approaching 40. Younger imitators crowd the stages. The name that once captivated Europe is fading into yesterday's sensation. Then comes August 1914. Germany declares war on France. The First World War begins. The carefree world of peace and prosperity vanishes overnight. Theaters close their doors across the continent. Audiences disappear as men march off to fight. Entertainment becomes irrelevant when nations struggle for survival. The wealthy patrons who once supported Mata Hari turn their attention to the war. Military contracts replace artistic patronage. Victory matters more than dancing. Mata Hari is stranded in Berlin when hostilities erupt. A citizen of neutral Holland trapped in enemy territory. The German authorities freeze bank accounts belonging to foreign nationals. Officials confiscate belongings and property. Everything accumulated over years of performing disappears into government warehouses. She is forced to return to The Hague in the Netherlands, a homeland left behind decades earlier. At 39, the dancing career is finished. The wealthy lovers have scattered across a continent at war. The glamorous life in Paris and Berlin exists only in memory. The money is gone. The admirers are gone. The future looks bleak. Desperation sets in. Money is needed, urgently. The war has closed many doors, but conflict has also opened others. Mata Hari speaks French, German, English, and Dutch. 4 languages provide access to multiple worlds. A Dutch passport allows free movement between nations, while other Europeans face restrictions. Years of performing for the elite have created connections with powerful men on both sides of the conflict. Generals, politicians, and diplomats remember the famous dancer. In the autumn of 1915, a visitor arrives at the home in The Hague. His name is Karl Kramer, the German consul in Amsterdam. The official represents German intelligence. The visit has a specific purpose. Kramer offers a deal. Mata Hari possesses charm that opens doors across Europe. Powerful connections provide access to influential circles. Freedom to travel as a Dutch citizen allows movement where others face barriers. The combination makes this former dancer perfectly positioned to spy on enemy officers. Information gathered in Parisian salons and bedrooms could prove valuable to German military planning. The payment, 20,000 francs, a substantial sum for a woman facing financial ruin. Espionage is unfamiliar territory. The skills that build a career lie elsewhere, in performance, seduction, and reinvention. Intelligence gathering requires different talents. Codes, secret communications, and clandestine meetings belong to a world completely foreign to a former dancer. But money is needed, desperately needed. The offer is accepted. The Germans give Mata Hari a code name, age 21. They provide invisible ink, instructions, and a contact in Paris. She is now officially a spy. But Mata Hari has no intention of spying for Germany. The money from Kramer serves a different purpose in her mind. Compensation for everything the Germans seized in Berlin, payment for the bank accounts they froze, repayment for the belongings they confiscated. The 20,000 francs simply balances the ledger. Once the funds are in hand, the German handlers hear nothing from their new recruit. Their instructions gather dust. Their invisible ink remains unused. Their contact in Paris waits in vain. Mata Hari returns to Paris. The war rages on across the continent. Trenches stretch from the English Channel to Switzerland. Millions of soldiers fight and die in the mud. Yet Paris remains Paris. Officers on leave fill the cafes and cabarets, seeking pleasure and distraction from the horrors of the front. The city offers what the trenches cannot: wine, music, beautiful women, and the illusion of normalcy. Mata Hari does what she has always done. She entertains powerful men. The courtesan collects wealthy lovers. The lavish lifestyle continues as if the war exists only in newspapers. Then, in early 1916, everything changes. At the Grand Hotel in Paris, a chance encounter alters the course of a life. Mata Hari meets a young Russian officer named Vadim Maslov. The soldier is half her age, a man living on military pay with little wealth to offer. The officer serves with the Russian Expeditionary Force, Allied troops fighting alongside the French on the Western Front. For the first time in her life, Mata Hari falls genuinely in love. This feeling is different from the calculated relationships of the past. Unlike the wealthy patrons who paid for companionship, far removed from the powerful men who sought a famous dancer on their arm, Maslov offers something those men could never provide: genuine affection, true connection, a relationship built on feeling rather than transaction. When the Russian officer returns to the trenches, passionate letters follow him to the front. Mata Hari signs each one, "Your Marina." The pages overflow with longing. Dreams fill the correspondence. Marriage, a quiet life after the war ends. An escape from the endless game of wealthy patrons and lavish performances. A cottage somewhere peaceful and a simple existence. Two people in love, far from the chaos of war and the exhausting performance of being Mata Hari. But dreams require money, and Maslov earns only what the army pays him. A military salary cannot support the life Mata Hari knows. In the summer of 1916, disaster strikes. Maslov is wounded in battle. A gas attack on the Western Front leaves him blind in one eye. The injury ends his time in the trenches. Military doctors transfer the Russian officer to a hospital near the front lines. Recovery will take months. Mata Hari is desperate to see him. She has traveled across Europe, performed in the grandest capitals, moved freely between nations, yet now faces an obstacle she cannot overcome. As a citizen of neutral Holland, special permission is required to travel near the front. Military zones are restricted. Civilians cannot simply wander into areas where soldiers fight and die. Appeals go to French authorities. "Please let me visit the man I love." The authorities refuse. Military regulations are clear. The front is closed to unauthorized visitors. The bureaucracy is unmoved by romantic pleas. Then an unexpected visitor arrives. Captain Georges Ledoux, head of French counterintelligence, makes an offer. The captain knows about the German contact. French intelligence is aware that Mata Hari accepted money from Kramer. The meeting in The Hague was observed. The recruitment by German intelligence was noted. All of this information sits in files at French headquarters. But instead of ordering an arrest, Ledoux proposes something different. Spy for France. The captain believes Mata Hari's connections make her valuable. Before the war, the famous dancer performed for Crown Prince Wilhelm, the eldest son of Kaiser Wilhelm II. The prince now commands German forces on the Western Front, a direct connection to German military leadership. If Mata Hari could seduce him again, military secrets worth millions might flow from pillow talk to French intelligence. The payment, 1 million francs. Enough to retire forever, marry Maslov, and disappear from public life. and in return, permission would be granted to visit the wounded Russian officer recovering near the front. Mata Hari accepts. The woman who took German money without intending to spy now agrees to spy for France. She becomes a double agent, recruited by Germany, working for France, playing both sides in a deadly game during the deadliest war the world has ever seen. Confidence fills the new French agent. Her charm will captivate the Crown Prince. Her skills will extract secrets from German commanders. Both sides can be played. Both sides can be manipulated. And when the game is finished, 1,000,000 francs will fund a new life far from espionage and war. This confidence is misplaced. In November 1916, Mata Hari boards a steamship bound for Spain. The voyage is the first step in the mission to reach the German Crown Prince. The plan seems straightforward. Travel to Spain, cross into German-controlled territory, renew the acquaintance with Crown Prince Wilhelm, extract secrets, return to France a wealthy woman. But when the ship stops at the British port of Falmouth, the journey is interrupted. British intelligence detains the passenger. Suspicion falls on this Dutch woman traveling during wartime. The interrogation lasts for hours. Questions about her purpose, contacts, and loyalties. Eventually, Mata Hari admits the truth. French intelligence recruited her. Captain Ledoux sent her on this mission. The work is for France, against Germany. The British release her, but permission to continue to Belgium is denied. The route to the Crown Prince is blocked. Spain becomes the destination instead. In Madrid, Mata Hari makes a fatal mistake. Major Arnold Colley serves as the German military attaché in the Spanish capital. A meeting takes place between Mata Hari and the German officer. Whether the purpose is extracting information for France or simply seeking money, the outcome is identical. Words flow too freely. Details emerge that should remain hidden. Mata Hari talks too much and reveals everything. Colley grows suspicious. Something about this Dutch woman troubles the German officer. The questions seem too pointed. The interest seems too calculated. A report goes to Berlin describing the activities of a German agent codenamed H21. The message contains details that unmistakably identify Mata Hari. Her description, her movements, her connections. But Colley sends the message in a code the officer knows the French have already broken. The betrayal is deliberate. The German military attaché is sacrificing agent H21. Perhaps she is suspected of being a double agent. Perhaps she is simply expendable. French intelligence intercepts the message. Codebreakers decipher the contents. The identity of H21 becomes clear. Mata Hari. Captain Ledoux receives the intercepted communication. The man who recruited the dancer now builds a case against her. The officer who promised 1,000,000 francs now prepares charges of treason. February 13, 1917, Paris. French police arrive at the Hotel Élysée Palace on the Champs-Élysées. They find Mata Hari in her room. The officers place her under arrest on charges of espionage. The woman who once captivated Europe is now a prisoner. Mata Hari is taken to Saint-Lazare, a grim women's prison in the heart of Paris. The cell is cold, damp, and infested with rats. The walls are bare stone. This is where Paris sends its most wretched criminals. Captain Pierre Bouchardon, the military examining magistrate, interrogates her relentlessly. 17 sessions over the following months. The captain is convinced of her guilt before the first session begins. His mind is already made up. The interrogations are not a search for truth. They are a performance designed to confirm what Bouchardon already believes. Mata Hari admits accepting money from the Germans. But the explanation is simple, according to her account. The funds were compensation for everything seized in Berlin when the war began. Nothing more than repayment for stolen property. Bouchardon refuses to accept this version of events. The accused admits meeting Major Colley in Madrid. But the purpose of that meeting, as Mata Hari tells it, was to extract information for France. The goal was to help the war effort, not betray it. Bouchardon dismisses this explanation without consideration. The magistrate has no interest in alternative interpretations. During the investigation, Bouchardon discovers that the famous stage persona is a fabrication. Mata Hari is not a Javanese princess. The exotic dancer is actually a Dutch divorcee who invented an exotic past to advance her career. The magistrate uses this revelation against the prisoner, arguing that a woman who lies about her origins cannot be trusted about anything. If the name is false, if the history is invented, then nothing this woman says can be believed. Meanwhile, Captain Ledoux builds his case against the very woman he recruited. The £1,000,000 once promised, now forgotten. Only her death will satisfy him. Ledoux tampers with evidence. The captain twists her actions into proof of treachery. Innocent travels become suspicious journeys. Former lovers become enemy contacts. Extravagant spending becomes payment for betrayal. Everything in her past is re-examined through the lens of guilt. France is desperate for a scapegoat. The war is going badly. The Nivelle offensive has failed catastrophically. Thousands of French soldiers are dead. The casualty figures are staggering. Mutinies spread through the army. Entire regiments refuse to fight. Morale collapses across the front lines. The government needs someone to blame. The public demands answers. The military demands a villain. Mata Hari fits perfectly. A foreign woman of loose morals who consorted with enemy officers. A Dutch citizen who traveled freely while French boys died in the trenches. A dancer who entertained generals while soldiers suffered. The press calls her the greatest spy of the century. Newspapers claim her actions caused the deaths of 5,000 soldiers. The accusation is baseless. No evidence supports such a figure. Yet the court accepts it as fact. The public believes what the newspapers print. On July 24, 1917, Mata Hari stands trial before a closed military court. 7 judges preside over the proceedings, all men, all military officers. No jury hears the evidence. No public witnesses observe the trial. The doors are sealed. The proceedings are secret. Her lawyer, Edouard Clunet, is elderly and outmatched. The old attorney lacks the energy and resources to mount a proper defense. Military court rules prevent him from cross-examining prosecution witnesses. The same rules forbid him from questioning his own witnesses effectively. The deck is stacked against the defense from the beginning. The prosecution lays out its case methodically. The intercepted messages identifying Agent H21. The German money accepted in The Hague. The officers entertained in Paris and Madrid. Each piece of evidence is presented as proof of guilt. Mata Hari protests from the dock. The accused declares love for France. She stands before these judges and insists her profession is that of a courtesan, not a traitor. A harlot? Yes, but a traitoress? Never. The judges ignore these pleas. The verdict is already sealed. The outcome was determined before the trial began. Then comes the cruelest blow. Vadim Maslov, the man Mata Hari loves, the man for whom this woman became a spy, is called to testify. The Russian officer refuses to appear. Instead of coming to court, Maslov sends a letter. The message declares their relationship was meaningless. The words state that her case holds little importance to him. The man who once received passionate letters signed "Your Marina" now pretends the affair meant nothing. Mata Hari collapses when the verdict is read aloud. The trial lasts less than 2 days. On July 25, 1917, the court finds the defendant guilty on all charges. The sentence, death by firing squad. The condemned woman spends the next 3 months in prison, awaiting execution. Letters pour out of Saint-Lazare, pleading innocence. Appeals go to former lovers begging for help. The composer Puccini receives one such letter. The famous musician ignores it completely. Other former admirers pretend they never knew the woman who now faces death. The men who once showered this dancer with gifts and affection abandon her completely. October 15, 1917. Dawn. Mata Hari is taken from her cell to the firing range at Vincennes, on the outskirts of Paris. 12 French soldiers stand in formation. Rifles are ready. The morning air is cold. The rifles fire. Mata Hari falls. The end comes at 41 years old. No family claims the body. The remains are given to a medical school for study. The head is embalmed and kept in a Paris museum, where it later disappears without explanation. Everything she invented herself to be is gone. A performer who rose from obscurity to become the most famous dancer in Europe. A courtesan who moved among kings and generals. A woman who played a dangerous game between nations at war. All of it ends here, at Vincennes alone. In 1930, Germany officially declared that Mata Hari never spied for them. The statement came too late to matter. More than a decade had passed since the execution. But by then, Mata Hari had become legend. The ultimate femme fatale. the seductive spy whose name would live forever in books, films, and the popular imagination. The legend had replaced the truth,